I'm Cassidy Wartenweiler with the Wisconsin Technology Council, filling in this week for Liz Schrum. Here with WisBusiness.com, the show. Just ahead, Tom Still discusses the 4 C's of manufacturing trends Wisconsin companies should know. And Evan Absher, a spokesman for the Kansas City-based Kaufman Foundation, talks about how Wisconsin can improve its startup rankings. And now, here's this week's Tech Metrics. The snapshots of key indicators in the Wisconsin economy are developed by the Wisconsin Technology Council for its policy and news reports. And now, here's Tom Still with his Inside Wisconsin commentary.
Most Americans probably think the worst is over for U.S. manufacturing jobs, which declined 1.6% per year in the decade ending in 2014. More than 2.1 million jobs disappeared during that time. Even with the Great Recession in the rearview mirror, that perception is only partly correct. The coming years won't be easy for companies that fail to pay attention to trends reshaping the nation's manufacturing sector. The number of manufacturing jobs will decline on average 0.7% per year between now and 2024, according to federal labor forecasts. That's a predicted drop of 814,000 jobs for the 10 years ending in 2024, from roughly 12.2 million jobs to 11.4 million jobs. In a tortured political year, the obvious answer would be to blame someone else, Mexico, China, South Korea, or Brazil, to name likely suspects. In truth, much of the fault still lies at home, with companies that have failed to keep up with the global Joneses, Garcias, and Wangs. The manufacturing companies that survive in the years ahead will be those that compete through innovation, product development, and market expansion at home and abroad, reduce costs through a mix of systems, techniques, and management tools, create a culture that attracts, retains, and develops talent, and pursue certifications that set a company apart while fulfilling local, state, national, and even international qualifications. Competition, cost, culture, and certifications make up the operating mantra for the Wisconsin Manufacturing Extension Partnership and its oversight group, the Wisconsin Center for Manufacturing and Productivity. Both organizations work with manufacturers statewide, often putting together beginning-to-end plans that help companies compete in a changing world. Whether the term of art is the Internet of Things, the connected factory, machine-to-machine connections, or Industry 4.0, improvements in technology contribute heavily to manufacturing efficiency and productivity. However, technology is only a part of the answer. Developing and manufacturing products that set companies apart is essential. So is expanding markets domestically and internationally, especially in a world where 95% of the people live outside the United States. The Export Tech program at WMEP has helped hundreds of Wisconsin companies grow abroad, even if they believe they were too small to do so. Corporate culture is increasingly part of the mix, especially at a time when the workforce is aging nationally and in Wisconsin. The millennial generation is more likely to be attracted and retained by a winning culture. Certifications and compliance programs might be viewed by some employers as too costly or too much hassle, but they can provide a competitive edge for companies in many industry sectors. Wisconsin is a state with a long manufacturing tradition and one of the nation's highest shares of manufacturing jobs. Adhering to the 4 C's of competition, cost, culture, and certifications may help it remain so.
We're back with Evan Absher, a policy program officer for the Kaufman Foundation. We caught up with Evan at the Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Conference. Tell a bit about the Kaufman Foundation, especially its emphasis on entrepreneurism.
Well, our mission statement is economic empowerment through entrepreneurship and education. Our founder, Ewing Kaufman, came to entrepreneurship after working at a pharmaceutical company for a long time and deciding that he could do better on his own, so began his own pharmaceutical company. So our intent, our mission is to help foster entrepreneurship, and my specific job is to help do it in cities across the country. Cities like Madison and Milwaukee and Kansas City and other places.
The Kauffman Foundation's state-by-state rankings of Wisconsin startups usually show the state at or near the bottom of the 50 states. In a nutshell, why is that?
Well, that is the nature of rankings. Somebody has to be last, unfortunately. It doesn't mean bad. It also is the nature of our index, and we think our index is a great diagnostic tool. It can help you understand your strengths and weaknesses. We have 3 different indexes. The startup, the Main Street, and the high growth index. And they're very useful for a starting point, but they're not the end all be all. While Wisconsin ranks last in startup, they're 6th in Main Street, which means that once you do get started, you survive very well in Wisconsin, which is good. And they're right about in the middle of the road for high growth entrepreneurship. So while Wisconsin is last in the startup, and there are things we could probably do, not everything is bad news. Madison and Milwaukee are doing well. They're about 16 percentage points above the state average. So there are good things in Wisconsin, and the index can help you understand where you're strong and where you're weak, but don't take it as doom and gloom. It's not, we would never say it's the definitive measure of entrepreneurship in Wisconsin.
What can Wisconsin do to create more young companies that it's not doing now?
Well, I would always say, first and foremost, communities, especially cities or towns or communities in the figurative sense, should always map and measure and understand where their entrepreneurial ecosystem assets are. So those would be entrepreneurs themselves, support organizations, accelerators, incubators, also who we call deal makers, so people who are connected. They could be investors, they could be attorneys, accountants, people within institutions. Also the mayors and cities should get involved, both as a convener and as a champion of entrepreneurial success. That's always a good start, is to map and measure. So understand where people are at and then at what levels and what they're doing. That's my first order, what we usually recommend. And then after that, it's about connecting the people and connecting the different assets together. Generally, what we find are entrepreneurs are operating in a silo, or they feel like they're operating in a silo, or they feel disconnected. And you can do a lot in a community to connect people. And that's always the next step. That's usually very helpful.
Thanks, Evan. And thank you for watching this edition of WisBusiness.com, the show. The show is produced by the Wisconsin Technology Council and WisBusiness.com and sponsored by UW-Milwaukee and Exact Sciences. Visit our website and learn more. I'm Cassidy Wartenweiler of the Wisconsin Technology Council. We'll see you next time.